episode 14. It's your boy Icon going over some DC TV, and this one is entitled Magical Thinking. So, in this particular episode, the search for the totems, is still on. And some other things have happened, like other characters have gone through different things. Because we saw in the last episode, William, he said that, oh, I'm going to embed myself with the Super Friends. And that's exactly what he did. Apparently, the Supergirl and the gang, like, they thought that was a good idea. Because they said that, their name in the press is kind of mud right now. And having William come into the tower, see what they do, and report back, to the public about what they do, it'll help, like, calm the people down and keep them more on their side. Obviously, there were some ground rules, like don't keep our, don't reveal our identities, don't try to figure out our identities, and the fact that Lena works with us, we got to keep that a secret as well. The episode kicked off. They all broke into Kara's apartment, and they were trying to have game night. Kara showed up. She was like, "Oh, it's not a good idea," and then everybody was just like, "No, but we need a chance to compress, like get our thoughts together and try to like calm everything down." They then start talking to Kelly, who said that because the little girl who was in the foster home. The one that was like talking all weird, the one that basically knew that Kelly was the one that dressed up like Guardian. She's back in the episode. But Kelly had said that she's going to go check on her because the girl got a new foster home. Lena was just like, oh, I'm still trying to understand my magic and I don't know what I'm going to do. And then Brainy, for some reason, Brainy wasn't in the episode because they said he was in the Legion ship and he was scanning the city. And I'm just like, okay, I can buy that, but not for the entire episode. So, when it comes down to Kelly, Kelly goes down to the house. She ends up seeing the little girl. She's excited about the new foster family. Everything seems okay. So then William shows up, he's at the tower, and then he's trying to find out, okay, like, what do you guys do? He's like, what's going on? And then, then they briefly start talking to him about, like, Mixley and about magic and about the totems and about every single thing that's going on. They tell him don't report on it just yet because if he reports on it, then that might rile up the public, and they said they're trying to, like, reel everything in. Mixley now, she ends up locating one of the totems, and this one is, I believe it was called the Humanity Totem. And when she found the Humanity Totem, it was around some random dude's keychain that just happened to be at a gym who was working out. And Mixley even said, like, when she ran up on him, she was like, one of the most powerful, she was like, one of the 7 most powerful items on the planet is rolling around in your pockets full of lint balls and unwrapped treats. Like, that was very funny. She ended up taking the totem from him. And when she said the words, what is it, Crucio or Crucix or Crucix, then this wave of energy came over everybody that was at the gym. And Mixley got hit with it as well. The totem voice god even said, he was like, are you worthy of the totem? And she was like, yes, I am. And he was just like, well, prove yourself worthy. Apparently, like, this particular totem, it stripped away the humanity of the people that were at the gym. And it took their humanity, their empathy, and, their compassion for other human beings and gave it to Mixley. And Mixley got hit with it, and then she started feeling weird, and then, Supergirl and the gang showed up, like Mixley dipped, and then after Mixley dipped, Supergirl and them had to deal with the people that were engulfed in having their humanity and, like having their compassion and their hope stripped away. So now, like, the Super Friends are fighting them, trying to break everything up. Mixley's on the ship, she's like freaking out because she's like, oh, those poor people, they're gonna hurt themselves and it's gonna be all my fault. And then the guy's looking at her like, bitch, what's like, what the problem is? So then they come up with a thing where they ended up using Lena's power, because Lena's trying to do the whole magic thing. And then Lena said, oh, I think I came up with a spell, like that could help us strip Mixley of her power. So they go down to some place, where there were like flowers and everything. William ended up having a talk with Lena saying, like, you should use your own personal feelings when you do your magic. That's the only way it'll help. So she goes down to like some flower bed, and then she ends up using the power of flowers and tries to put her own little spin on it to, to do the magic spell. When Lena does the magic spell, the spell that she does, instead of stripping, like Mixley of her power or calming down the people, that were enraged and had their compassion taken away, she ended up amplifying it. And she made those people more angry, more compassionless, and it made Mixley like super empathetic to the point where she was like crying, and she was just like, oh, I'm going to kill everybody, and it's not fair. She's like, those poor people, whatever shall we do? So now Lena gets upset because she's just like, oh, my magic, it ruined everything. And then, Kara tried to talk to her because Kara was just like, hey, she said that if your spell was able to amplify the empathy of everybody, of Mixley, amplify the anger within everybody else, then Kara was like, oh, we can use that. She said that we can use your spell again to amplify everybody, and then Mixley will be so overwhelmed with empathy and compassion, she'll end up reversing what she did, and she'll give the stone back, and she'll end up curing everybody for us. And then Lena was just like, no, I won't do it. She was like, I'll take no part in having my magic used for such heinous things. And then her and Kara got into it, and then she told Kara, she was just like, she's like, is that what we are? She's like, are we that cold? And then Supergirl was like, I'm gonna get it done by any means necessary. And then she's like, wait, I didn't mean that. But then the funny thing is, because Lena was just like, oh, I'll take no part in this. And then in the very next scene, she went to the whole group and she was just like, yeah, so we've decided that we're going to do it. And then William was just like, okay. He said, you weren't even on board with the plan like 2 seconds ago. Why are you okay with the plan now? And the difference was Lena and Kara had decided they were going to allow William to write the story and tell the story word for word exactly how it's supposed to be told. They were like, you can tell everybody about Mixley, about the magic, about the totem search. She was like, you just spill the beans on everything. So this way, when we end up using Lena's spell to amplify everybody's lack of compassion and lack of empathy, to amplify Mixley's, compassion and empathy, the public will know what we're doing, and they can judge us accordingly. But they said that hopefully they'll understand what we did, because what we did was for the greater good. So then she uses the spell. Lena does the spell. It ends up, amplifying everything, amplifying everybody. Now, at this moment, the Super Friends were just like, okay, if we're going to amplify this power, we all need to be on deck, except for Brainy, because he still didn't show up. They were just like, we all need to be on deck. So this way we can stop the fighting and help keep the peace. Kelly immediately went down to the little girl's house to go check on the little girl. Alex went with her. There were some guys that were there. They were angry, they were going around beating people up and kicking ass, and they went to the little girl's house. There was a moment earlier where some guys that were compassionless and angry and beating people up, they actually tried to attack the little girl and tried to attack the foster family that she was in, and she used her alien power to fight them off. Once that happened, her foster parents left her outside in the cold to die, and they're just like, oh, just do what you did before and stop those people from hurting us. And the little girl was crying because she's like, I don't know how I did it. And then they just left her out there for dead. And then Alex and Kelly showed up in costume. They beat up everybody and they protected the girl, the little girl, and they kept her safe. Just then, the plan actually worked. Mixley got so overwhelmed with empathy and compassion, she actually felt bad. She took the crystal, and then the guy was like, what are you doing? And then she was like, hey, I'm giving everybody their empathy and their compassion back. And then she said the magic words. She let the crystal go because she was like, I cannot. She's like, I cannot hold this thing any longer. And then as soon as she let it go, she was like, what the hell did I just do? And then Supergirl came out of nowhere, swooped in, and she grabbed the crystal. And then she took the crystal back to the tower. So now Mixley has one crystal and Supergirl has another crystal. But I honestly don't see Supergirl using that crystal, so she's probably just going to hold on to it until we can get the next one. William did a story about it, about the Super Friends. Andrea Rojas loved it, and then he was just like, I'm going to tell the story my way or else, bitch. And then she was just like, fine. But they also said that because they have the crystal now, Brainy can use the crystal's energy to track the other crystals, but they only have enough energy to find one crystal. So when they were trying to figure out which crystal to go after, Dreamer was just like, oh, there's a dream crystal. So she said that seems like, the next appropriate thing to go for. And I was just kind of like, okay, I get that, having a dream crystal is something that's probably near and dear to you, but wouldn't you be better off? It's like, I feel like she should be able to find the dream crystal without using the energy, and they could have saved the energy for something else. And then what if they go after the dream crystal and then Mixley goes after something else? So we're just going to keep, you get one, I get one, you get one. I thought that was a very odd choice. I thought that was a very odd choice, but nonetheless, that's what we're doing. So the next episode is probably going to be focused more on Dreamer and her getting the dream crystal. Then at the end, the foster parents with the little girl, they ended up, kicking her out and sending her back to the orphanage because they were afraid of her, afraid of her alien power. Alex and Kelly showed up. They were just sitting with her, talking with the little girl. They done left the poor girl out on the porch. Kelly and Alex was talking to her, and then they're just like, don't worry, we'll find you a home soon. And then she was just like, it's okay, because she said people like me will never find a home. And as soon as she said that, I was like, watch Kelly and Alex take this girl in. And that was a very beautiful scene, because what I liked about it, it's not so much the fact that, because Alex always wanted kids, so by her getting the girl, that's I'm happy for Alex in that regard. But the cool thing about that was when the decision to adopt her Kelly and Alex had a full-blown conversation just looking at each other and never said a word. And I thought that was really cool because, like, in that moment, it's like we knew what it was. They both held the girl hand and, like, they took the girl home. So she's going to be a part of the show now, and she's going to be a part of Kelly and Alex's life. I guess Kelly will do most of the parenting because Alex is going to be out there fighting crime. See, but then Kelly fights crime, too, because she goes out dressed as Guardian. So, I mean, if the show was going to continue, if we were going to get a 7th season of Supergirl, I promise you, there would have been an episode where somebody tried to flag Kelly and Alex for being neglective bad parents. But that's it. But it was cool to see that. And and then finally, like Lena and Supergirl in the car, they had their conversation. Like being besties or whatever. And then Mixley was just like, "Oh, I'll find the rest of the totems, or else the war is on, Supergirl." And that was it. And thank you for tuning in. So I said this was nice. It was a nice episode. It was nice to see the Super Friends gaining some ground. Like I said, William's a part of the fold now because without it, he wouldn't really be on the show. See, but the thing is, the show's coming to an end. There are certain questions that still need to be addressed because Andrea Rojas still has the necklace thingy that turns her into like the cat burglar. We have 5 more totems to fight, and I'm like, how are we gonna find all these totems? Well, the show's almost over. We're still doing the totem thing. We're still doing the totem thing. It's not like we're at the last totem. We're at like the 3rd totem. So I don't know, but Melissa Benoist did an interview on, I believe it was Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon, one of them. Yeah, I think it was Jimmy Kimmel. And then she said that they already finished the show. So, but I don't know if we're getting 18 episodes or if we're getting 22. If we're getting 22 episodes, then okay, they do got time to wrap this up. And hopefully it is 22 because it is the final season of Supergirl. So let's go out with a big bang and not just, end it with like a short number of episodes like they did with other shows. So that was it. And like I said, thank you for tuning in. So leave your questions, comments, and concerns. Where do you think the girl's going to play in all this with the whole magic dynamic and everything? Is she not going to play a part in it? And does her and Kelly, does Alex, Kelly, and the little girl get their happy ending? Or hell, do they adopt more children before the season's over? Where does William fit in all this? And how are we going to find the totems? And how does the whole thing end? And I'd like to know everybody's thoughts and theories about how Supergirl ends. No spoilers, but leave your thoughts in the comments and we'll talk about it. Check me out on Instagram and Twitter. Check me out on YouTube as always. That's where you put your comments at, and we'll continue to roll over the superhero goodness. We do have some Arrowverse shows returning. Legends of Tomorrow and Batwoman start this Wednesday. I believe both of them come back this Wednesday, so we're going to review that as well as we make our way down to the end of Supergirl. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Up and away as always. For the girl is here, take care, and for your magic, take care. And about this...